Good afternoon. I'm Christopher Kelch, and I want to welcome you for joining us today. I wanted to begin today with a reiteration of LA Opera's statement in the wake of unnecessary violence and deep anguish. As a community of believers in the healing powers of art, we have committed our life's work to exploring and understanding our shared humanity. We acknowledge the longstanding pain and frustration felt by so many, especially those in our Black communities. We stand with them in sorrow and solidarity, opposed to prejudice, violence, devastation, and inequality. We commit anew to self-examination and to devoting time, attention, and resources necessary to do our part to heal wounds that are hundreds of years old. This statement is, of course, meaningless without action behind it. I come to you today as the white male leader of this institution, and I won't pretend to have all the answers to the issues that plague our society. But I do know that it is essential and urgent that we work together and absorb the wisdom of so many voices as we effect real change. J'Nai Bridges, a supremely gifted artist and a leader in the operatic community, had the idea of hosting the discussion today about racial disparity and inequality in opera. I have the utmost respect for J'Nai as an artist and as a person, and I'm deeply grateful to her as she leads an honest and frank conversation with a distinguished panel of opera professionals that frankly is long overdue. This is just part of a process of being more conscious and more intentional in both our words and our actions. We have urgent work ahead and a long way to go. Today and tomorrow, we stand in feedback. J'Nai?
Thank you, Christopher, for that lovely introduction. I'm super happy to be here today, and I'm just very grateful that my friends have agreed to join me. I would like to introduce them individually. You can actually go to their websites and read their bios. I'm going to make it, more personal of introductions. So with that being said, I would like to introduce Julia Bullock, who is my dear friend, and a soprano that actually, Julia is anything she wants to be. And that is something that I love so much about this woman. I am constantly inspired by her, and she's one of the most versatile musicians and people that I know. So Julia Bullock. Karen Slack, my dear sister who I've known since I was a student in grad school, is one of the most beautiful, not only voices out there, but souls that you will ever encounter. And I thank her for just being who she is. Next, we have Lawrence Brownlee, my brother, who I literally don't think that there is anything he cannot do. This man sings on all of the world's greatest stages, speaks every language, plays tennis, salsa dances. That's my salsa buddy. And I'm just so happy that he's here with us today. Russell Thomas, who is someone that I don't have a lot of personal experiences with, but I feel so close to him because I've been observing and watching and studying him since I was a student. And I'm just so inspired, and I hope to sing with him one day. I hope to sing with everybody, but I have dreams of singing with this incredible man. And lastly, but certainly not least, Morris Robinson, another one of my brothers that I met in 2008. I heard this voice on the Metropolitan Opera stage and in the opera Salome, and I just thought, oh my gosh, who is this man? How is he making those sounds? And how can I meet him? So ladies and gentlemen, this is our panel for today. And I'm just so grateful for this family reunion. Hello, everybody. Oh my gosh, I can't see all of your faces. Larry, where are you? There you are, okay. Hi, thank you for being here today. You know, it's really just great to see you all at once, you know, even if it's through a screen. I instantly feel better because it's a hard time right now. And I'll start off by just saying what this is. I mean, I was asked to do a virtual recital by LA Opera. And as much as I wanted to accept that, I'm just not in a place right now to present in that way. And, but they did extend the invitation and said, you know, we would like for you to use our platform in whatever way you see fit. So I thought, you know, I've been so inspired just by seeing how people have been able to continue to create in spite of COVID-19 and our jobs being stripped from us. Karen Slack has Kiki Convos, where she's weekly interviewing a wide variety of people in the industry. And I was a guest on her show, and it's an amazing platform. The Sit Down with LB, Lawrence Brownlee, has started his talk show. And it's, you know, a place where people can come for advice and info in the pursuit of their career. So I thought, people are listening, people are tuning in. And I'm going to be honest, I'm a bit nervous about this because this is something different. Speaking of our experiences as Black artists in the world comes with something different. It comes with injustices. And that's not easy for people to hear. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to hear about them, and it's uncomfortable to talk about. But it's time. It is beyond time. And I know people want to listen, I know people want to hear, and I know people want to learn. So that's why we're here. I want to say that, you know, I didn't call you all to fix any problems. I don't believe that that's our job. But I do believe in using our platforms to inspire. And so I hope that this talk definitely inspires people to make change and not just talk about it. So let's talk about our experiences and go from there. 2020 has really thrown us for a ride so far. And, you know, we're managing and combating multiple things. COVID-19, the loss of our jobs, ongoing police brutality and murder, protests, riots, looting, and our own personal trials. So it's just a lot. It's really a lot. And the recent killings of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd by police have sparked yet another outrage in this country. We know that these type of killings are not new, and they've been happening for hundreds of years in this country. But with that being said, I would like to delve in and ask my first question. Why do you think there is such a big reaction now from white people and non-Black people about police brutality? Feel free to start. I would love to hear from all of you. But if you don't feel like this resonates, fine, you don't have to answer, but let's just go. Yeah.
I'll start.
Okay.
I think there was something about the image of that white police officer with his knee on that Black man's neck in the middle of the street, his face flush against the ground, and this guy had his hands in his pocket like he was taking a stroll through the park. There was something about that image that if you didn't think it was a problem before, that if that image doesn't penetrate in some deep and meaningful way, you don't have the heart. Because for me, I'm always bothered by it. We all have experienced varying forms of aggression from police, especially us Black men on here. I know for a fact us Black men on here have. But there was something about that image that I think the callousness of it, how he just was so nonchalant about it. And this man is begging and pleading for his life and for just the ability to breathe. Now, and we saw that with the Staten Island situation as well. The man said, I can't breathe. But there was something about that moment that was different. I don't know exactly what it is. Maybe it was the hands in the pocket. Maybe it was, there was something. And for me, it was that nonchalant, that oppressive action with this nonchalant attitude about it. That to me spoke volumes. Absolutely volumes.
I think because we've all been home, I'm sorry, Morris, I apologize. Sitting at home for 2 months, forced to address issues that we've all been ignoring or pretending like those things don't affect us. When you have to sit up and you've been sitting on your couch and you look at your screen and you see, like Russell said, a man casually sitting on someone's neck, that affects you. On top of the COVID, people haven't been able to work. People haven't been able to get their unemployment. People haven't been able to feed their children, and all of these other societal aspects that are already sitting in your belly, all of these things. And you see that and you go, it's right in front of you. You can't look away because there's nowhere you can go. You can't go to the store because the store is closed. You can't go to church because church is closed. You can't even go to your neighbor's house because we're all supposed to be social distancing. And so I think that is another reason why people just couldn't turn away.
In as much as COVID-19 has forced us all in a myriad of ways to look at ourselves and re-examine everything in our lives because of the pause, both your points are exact. We weren't able to do a whole lot else, and we were forced to sit there and see it. And the casual nature, the evilness in his eyes, his refusal to move, his refusal to be budged by the people that were urging him to get off, the callousness that you could see being implemented, being exercised at that moment, touched everyone. And you're right, we saw the guy in Charleston get shot in the back. I saw the guy in Miami get shot in the back with his hands up. We witnessed Edward Gardner, what's his name? The guy in New York get choked to death by the cops. He had like 20 cops around him, so you really couldn't see that well, but he got choked. But when you saw this, it was just one knee, one cop, hands in pockets, and the guy's neck and head wedged between the curb. I don't know how you could look at that and not have a heart. Mm-hmm. And I think that at that moment, everyone saw it and thought, okay, we really got to do something about this now because that's just ridiculous. Now, 6 of us on here and all of our family, that was just another occurrence. I know, and that's the sad part. I know that even when I leave my apartment going to LA Opera to do a performance, I got to make it from my apartment to the LA Opera without getting pulled over by police, or I might end up in that situation. We know that every time we get stopped, we could possibly end up in that situation. But for other people to see it and see the heinousness of the crime, I felt like that was what sparked the interest and sparked the urge to say, okay, guys, enough is enough. We've been saying it, but now it's good that everyone else is saying it. So that's my two cents.
Yeah, absolutely. Larry or Julia, do you have any comment on that? Oh, can't hear you, Larry.
Hello, there we go. Am I there?
Yes, you're there.
Okay. Yeah, we talk about the callousness, but it was a quiet defiance that I saw in him. When these people were pleading, and there was a lot, but it was just like he couldn't be bothered. He was not going to move his knee. And I said something to someone earlier and actually posted it this week. Why couldn't he just move his knee? He didn't have to get up per se, but why couldn't he just adjust his knee to make sure that the man could breathe properly? He still had him detained. He was outnumbered because there were several cops there, but not even so much as a gesture to readjust himself. And so when you have people seeing that in the light of day, the view was not obscured in any way. It was clear that this man was intentional in doing him harm, and he couldn't think any more about this individual that he had on the ground, that he could have such a small opinion of the value of that man's life. It touched everyone at a really, really deep core. And people just thought, okay, I've been seeing this and hearing about it, and it's out of my mind's eye. But this is something that, as everyone else said before, we can't be distracted because COVID has us inside. And so the fact that we could see this in the light of day, this man's nonchalant, quiet defiance was the thing that I think hit so many people in the stomach and made them think, whoa, something has to change.
Yes. Can't hear you, Julia. Oh, Julia, can't hear. Yeah.
She has to unmute her mic.
Telling everyone else to unmute
There you are.
themselves. Can't do it myself. The build up to George Floyd's lynching. It's, you know, like as you were saying, Morris, we're already looking at Ahmaud and at Breonna, and these were shootings very fast. And so everyone was already kind of in this mode of like, all right, and then what is the next thing to come? And this brutal, quiet, calm thing. And then also the unfolding of the news afterwards of like, no, it's not just one man with a knee on his neck. There are a row of men behind, of police officers behind, that were contributing to this, that were not, well, their intentions were very clear. I think that was the deal. It's like the intentions of this action were super clear, and there's no doubt about it. It wasn't, there's no slip of the hand. It's just a, brutal hand homicide.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think that the slow, methodic killing, in retrospect, is almost a methodical parallel to Black Americans.
Absolutely.
You know, we've been saying for years, help us out. We're struggling here. Get your knee off our throats. Get off our backs. Give us a chance. Give us this. Stop ostracizing us from this. Give us fair opportunity. I'm just trying to breathe. I'm just trying to live in this society. I'm just trying to eat like you eat. I'm trying to have the same advantages you have. And on the surface, it doesn't look like, you know, the guy was still talking, so people say he was still breathing. But the blood wasn't going to his brain. The oxygen wasn't getting to his brain. It was a slow, methodical, tragic, life-sucking death. And, you know, it's a parallel to how we are today. And people don't understand that we carry this burden with us, this perpetual burden with us, this perpetual paranoia with us all the time. So I just wanted to put that out there, you know.
I'm glad that you put it out there, because I was just going to say that, you know, Reverend Al Sharpton spoke at George Floyd's memorial, and he said that this is nothing new, you know.
And it's a metaphor.
Oppression is on our necks, and it has been for over 400 years in every way, to be honest. And so, you know, it still is a question to me why the outrage hasn't been there before, but this is where we are, you know, and I'm personally grateful for the outrage.
Well, you know, another thing I wanted to say, if I might, the thing that has even made it more upsetting is because when you realize that, but not for cell phone footage, you know, and they said that it was different in the police report. It was a contradiction what they saw in the police report to what was to what was seen on the video. So you only have to think for a moment the countless lives that have been lost, the miscarriage of justice that has been, you know, implemented in so many millions of lives over the years because there was not cell phone footage. The incident in New York, in Central Park, had he not recorded that incident, in the fullness of it, that would have been completely misconstrued in a different way. And so I am glad to the inventor of cell phone cameras that we can now document what we've been saying, as everyone is saying, for many years. This has been happening so many times. You see how a situation that is, if, you know, George Floyd, to go back to him, if he was being pulled over or detained for a probable forgery crime, that is not, in my opinion, punishment for death. But how these situations get escalated because of a certain attitude the police come already when it is a Black guy. If you think about Amy Cooper in Central Park, she said code words that the cops would come with a certain attitude and mindset. She said the code words, so she knew that that situation would heighten to a certain level. And that is the upsetting thing with all of us. I got pulled over in LA before on my way to LA opera rehearsals for doing nothing. And the attitude of the police officer was just completely out of hand. But I just said to myself, I'm going to live another day. I'm going to have the last laugh. I'm going to go home to my family. I'm going to wake up to see another day, because I'm not going to allow myself to be provoked to a certain thing. And so that's the attitude, policing, the mentality that they have towards us, that you saw in both George Floyd's death and the attitude when Amy Cooper was calling these policemen to have them come in with a certain attitude. That's the thing that is so upsetting, because it seems that there is never decency when we're approached in any situation that deals with the law.
Yes, thank you for that. And there's certainly usually never an apology either. That brings me, thank you for that. It brings me to my next question. You know, George Floyd, it could be you, Morris, it could be you, Larry, it could be you, Russell, and it could be us, women as well. As artists and as singers, we are required to bare our souls in front of people, in front of huge audiences, in front of intimate audiences. That requires a huge sense of vulnerability. And so how do you tune out the noise? You know, artists of every color deal with noise, but there is an added noise that we have to deal with as Black performers and artists. And, you know, I'm still trying to figure out ways in which I tune it out, because it angers me. But I still have to put on a show. So I'm just curious, how do you guys do it?
I wouldn't say that I tune it out. I don't tune it out. I use it. I use it every way I possibly can. You know, a situation that happened to me this year in a work environment. Unfortunately, one of my uncles was killed in a horrible car accident. And there was, you know, funeral arrangements and all these things that were happening. And I was in a work situation. I was on my phone a lot. I appeared a few minutes late to rehearsal regularly. That's my fault. However, everyone was aware that this situation was going on. I expressed to them what was going on, what was happening. And believe it or not, the administration called me to a meeting because I was on my phone too much, or I was late to rehearsal a few times too many. And in 20 years of singing, 20, I have never been treated in the way that I felt that I was diminished so much. And the work situation, for the most part, was absolutely amazing, but there was something serious going on. And you know what, to tie it all in, that frustration that I felt with these people just not getting it. And I asked the question, well, are all the people who come to rehearsal late going to be called into a meeting, or is this just me? And you know what? I asked my colleagues that I saw come to rehearsal late, they didn't have a meeting. You know, they didn't have a meeting. And these are things that we have to deal with. These are things that we have to deal with. I could pop off. I could pop off in a way that Russell Thomas can. Y'all who know me very well knows that I have a tendency to be very mouthy. There's nothing that wouldn't solve anything. That wouldn't solve anything. So I came, I did my job with a level of excellence that I felt that showed me and my colleagues and the production and represented the company well. And to me, that's how I used that situation. I came in to my friends and I told them all about it. I was like, can y'all believe this happened to me while I was dealing with a death in my family and while I was dealing with trying to figure out how I was going to get home, if I was going to get a release. All these things were just logistics that I was trying to figure out. I felt in that moment that anyone else would have been given a certain level of consideration. But me, the lone Black man in the, no, not the lone, there was a few of us, but me in that situation, I was not given just the basic amount of consideration that I can deal with this problem and deal with it in a way. It wasn't interrupting anybody. I was coming to rehearsal every day anyways, and would sit around for 10 minutes before we'd start doing anything. So it wasn't bothering anybody, but they had to put me in my place.
Yeah.
That's what it was. They were putting me in my place, you know, but this is what we deal with on a regular basis.
You know, I carry, and I talk about the perpetual paranoia of being a Black man in America. You know, you talk about the 20 years, Russell, and I think me, you, and Larry met each other at Opera Theater St. Louis back in 2000, which is exactly 20 years ago, almost to the day when we were doing Tribulation. And so I've been singing in this business for 20 years. And when I came into this business, and I'll say this publicly because I have no shame in it, I'm a brother from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm from the South, all right? There are certain do's and don'ts that you just comprehend and you understand. And when I came into this business, I was very, very cognizant of the fact that I was a big bald-headed Black guy. I'm a former jock. I didn't come through the traditional routes of university and conservatory training. So I'm an oddity already as it stands. That jock mentality and that jock image is going to follow me forever. And because of my Black skin and my bald head and my big frame, it can be intimidating to a lot of people. I carry that with me even to this day, to every rehearsal I go to, every interaction I have, every post-opera party, which I don't hang out at a lot of times, because just what happened in Central Park is another thing. Not just what happened with the police, but what happened in Central Park is something that I've known for all my life to be something that can happen at the drop of a hat without provocation, without justification. So I've managed, and I'm very proud of this, and I'm saying this publicly now, so if something jumps off, y'all already know, I'm handling my business, I'm not doing this. But I say this publicly that I walk around every opera rehearsal I've ever been to, guarded, cognizant of the fact that my interaction needs to be very public, in front of everyone, and very innocuous, such that all doubts, all potential images are eradicated. So people talk to me all the time and say, Maurice, you know, you never hang out with us that much. I do some, but I spend a lot of time in rehearsals. I'm the guy that walks in rehearsals. I high-five everybody, I hug everybody, and I'm really happy to be there because I love what I do and I love making music, and I love making music with lots of people. I love everyone, the people that hand me my water, the people that wipe off my head, the people that tell me which direction to go on stage, to the conductor, to everyone. But I realize that, you know, this practicing safe distance has always been a practice of mine because it's self-imposed that if I infringe upon anything, it could be misconstrued, or if someone's having a bad day and they want to say that I made them feel uncomfortable, because it's very easy for a 6'3", 300-pound Black man to make you feel uncomfortable. I carry that with me everywhere I go. And that is something unique to us. That's something unique to the Black experience in this world. So you talk about, and I'll make this really quick, you talk about how do we tune out the noise. In this country, we've been conditioned to just accept a certain amount of noise is going to be there.
Yeah.
But you still got to do your job. You still have to rise above the fray. You may not get the accolades that you deserve, but you still got to do it. You know, it's old offensive lineman mentality. I did all the blocking, but the running back got the touchdown. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to put my name in the paper, but you know what? I did my job. You know, I get harassed on the way to the studio, but I got to show up at rehearsal just like the other people, or else something is keeping me from being at that level of performance. So it's a constant, perpetual weight that we carry. And, you know, the art of tuning it out is something that's inbred in me. It's inbred in us because we just deal with stuff and keep it rolling. You know, Black people are good at rolling stuff off the bat, you know. So
have to be.
All right, that's my piece.
I'm sorry. I don't even know if it's rolling it off your back. It's just like, how are we conditioning is exactly the right word. And I think part of the outrage right now is that we're all so, like, I am so exhausted having to also put on a joyful, easy or face, or I present myself in this like constant state of understanding. Let me just ask one more question and hear your answer and sort through it and sort through all of the noise that is being like projected into my face to give a clear answer that is illuminating in some way. And it's just like, and then on top, then to sing with, to find the like transparency and clarity through which to also deliver material so that it is a, I don't know, I'm not going to say transcendent thing, but it's like sears through the center of everything else that we're dealing with, and gets at the heart of the piece that we're trying to deliver, because the message of the piece usually is something that's really, really important and critical for human like development. And yet it's like, I'm getting so tired of trying to make peace within myself. Like my capacity to hold noise, I've gotten so damned good at it. But wow, I'm ready to like, I just need to say, please, I gotta close. It's like, I'm ready to close the door right now. I cannot hear another word. I really can't. I want to see the words of people put into action, really. I want to see the resources and the money. And I know that arts organizations are struggling in ways, but there are also major endowments here with these places. There's a lot of money in our business. So I don't want to, it's very challenging for me to hear about any place saying that they're struggling to survive right now, or that a voice must be heard right now. It's like there are actual voices of messages that need to be delivered to us that are not just about making sound in space, like, right? It's not just about that. There are the pandemics and the crises that we're dealing with and have been dealing with for some time. That is actual survival issues. So I am so fed up hearing this desperation in arts, or excuse me. I'm so fed up hearing about desperation in arts organizations. The perspective is so skewed. Like, it's so skewed and oblique, and I just cannot hear any more of it. Really, can't hear any more.
Mm-hmm.
We should be the ones able to provide the models. This is what we study. This is what artists study. We study these patterns and try to give them back, embody them and give them back to people. I'm just so, what have we learned? And why aren't our arts organizations ahead of the curve, leading this?
Yes. Yes.
Why are we constantly having to be the ones who are the performers, the non-white performers are constantly the ones who are having to find, like, okay, let me clear the air. Let me try to clear the air again. I'm done.
And Julia, you make a great point, because even in this entire blackout situation, COVID situation, I mean, the Arbery thing, all of these things, it's like, how can you guys help us help you? No,
Right.
everybody knows what's right and what's wrong. Everybody knows what's right and what's wrong. Arts organizations shouldn't have to be shamed into making a statement, or shamed into doing what's right. That shouldn't be the case. You're absolutely right. And you have every right to be tired of it. I think we all are tired of it. And then but we can't, unfortunately, we can't say all the time, I'm tired of it.
Right.
We can't say that.
We haven't.
It's exhausting. It's truly exhausting.
We call each other.
We do. That's what, yeah.
Well, we do, and there's this attitude that we have. I think it is built in this business, that we understand that it seems like we're always walking around apologizing for who we are. It's like we have to be in an environment and try to make everybody comfortable. I don't want you to be offended, or I don't want you by something I say, or I don't want you to feel left out. I don't want you to feel like there's any, viciousness coming towards you. It's just like we're always trying to make everyone else feel comfortable, and no one has regard for our comfort level, and that's the part that we get fed up with. It's tiring. And one of the things, you said before, we're family, and some of the people that you have on here are really, some of my closest friends on the planet. And so we have to touch base with each other from time and time again. And we'll say to each other, look, this is what this is like, or you shouldn't take this, or you want to make sure that you represent yourself in this way. We have real heart-to-heart conversations, because we have to be pulled back in. Because if you think of an artist that is constantly pouring out, sometimes we have to be filled back up. And in those environments, we're not, because we're steadily trying to use our energy to pass, or to make everyone feel okay, to say, okay, let's accept him because he is the odd person in the room. And so, yes, it's tiring. Yes, it's exhausting. And it's one of these things that at a certain point, it comes out, and we don't want those. It shouldn't be that way. It's just a difficult thing with us all to deal with, but it's something that we deal with on a daily basis.
Wow. Yeah, thank you all for expressing that. You didn't have to do that, but I hope people hear us and hear you. Okay, and so for the next question, that just kind of brings me, I've been receiving so many texts and calls from my white friends, and it's nice. It is, and I appreciate it, and I love them. But I need action. What does true solidarity look like? And honestly, I'm tired of answering that question. So I understand if you don't want to answer it.
I'm 51 years old. I ain't never seen it, so I don't know what it looked like, but y'all can talk about it.
Same here. I tell all my colleagues on this thing that I speak to on a regular basis, I don't want an ally. I'm sorry, you don't need to be my ally. I don't want you to be my ally. I want you to do what's right.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't feel like it's right, leave it alone. But don't feel like you're doing me a favor. I don't want your favor. I want you to do what's right. Right. And the onus should not be on any one of us on this panel to tell you what's right. Because we all know what's right. We all see the injustice. We all see it.
We've talked about it this week. We've talked about it. Like I said, I talk to some of these people on here every day. We've talked about it, and all of us have been reached out to by at least probably 50 people each. Some of our white colleagues and friends that I truly, genuinely believe they care about us and they want to do something. But right now in this moment, it seems all too convenient for them to do it. And sometimes it can even come off a bit flat. I don't think they intend for it to be flat, but it doesn't come off as genuine because it's, I don't want to say opportunistic, but the timing is just a little bit fishy. And so it's funny because I started something today. I'm not trying to, I said, if you're saying this, you want to be an ally, let's get off the fence. And so I'm actually doing this thing where we're going to read books together and have real discussions and let people not sit on the sidelines. There's a book that we're going to read, and I talked to my guys about it last night. It's called White Fragility. And this is just a beginning of a conversation about racism that a lot of people just don't identify with. They're like, racism? What is that? But somebody needs to have an honest conversation. And this is going to go beyond you pushing a like on Russell's page from something he said, or sharing a video that Morris did, or commenting on something that Julia wrote on her Instagram, you know, it's going to go beyond that. You have to be active in trying to change yourself, because you're getting information that you cannot, if you're going to be a part of this, you cannot avoid. So that's one of the ways. Then, okay, you want to be nice and send messages, and that's nice, but go beyond that. Take another step and educate yourself about what it is we deal with in this country.
Yeah, because I will say, like, we have had to educate ourselves so intensely in how to, in order to just survive up until this point. And I mean, I every single arts organization has their own issues, right? Every school. And one thing I've just, I think because I grew up in raised by a white mother and a white stepdad, at a critical time in my life when I was developing my identity, it's like I developed a skill to navigate white spaces. And so what when I have encountered, it's like even just being raised by by white parents, it doesn't mean that they are sensitive all the time to the realities of what I'm dealing with. And so I have had to find ways and methods, I guess, in order to communicate clearly about why, like how this was, how a statement or a behavior impacted me. And it's like, and the emotional connection was real. So, and then maybe a shift in thinking started to happen. So I have been just trying to think of ways in which, like, I don't know if audiences, organizations really know the patterns that exist. I don't know if they have read the stories. I don't know if we could collect, and then I'm not talking about us like explaining, sitting on one-on-one explaining our experiences to people. And I was talking to Golda Schultz earlier today, and she's like, I cannot relive my trauma and keep explaining my trauma over and over again in order for somebody else to learn something. Right. And I was like, well, exactly. But sharing it in I don't know if it needs to be anonymous or what, sharing your every single experience. And for all of us, oh my God, it would be so interesting to like track all of our experiences and to lay them out, and then to hire either through AGMA or the organizations, or the arts organizations could hire somebody from the outside to compile all of this data, see what the patterning is. And then we could take it into, I don't know, we could do trials of one arts organization and maybe one school and see, like, can we look at the cycling of the systemic shit that has been going on. And every single place will be a little bit different, but there will certainly be some commonalities across every single platform and in every country, like, right? I mean, I will say, like, the realities of in the music business or in our business, it's not the same as the police brutality that we're facing outside. I do feel that we don't have to solely focus on the Black experiences. I think there are a lot of people who are like racism. A lot of people are dealing with racism, sexism. Like there's so much oppression and insane behavior, cultural behavior happening within rehearsal rooms. And before we even get to rehearsal, it's like, why have we just accepted and somehow just said, like, well, I've learned how to work this system and I broke through. Here are 6 people here who, yes, in our ways, we've each kind of broke through. But man, it is heartbreaking talking to some younger generations of artists, and they can't even imagine speaking. They're terrified to even speak about what they experienced because they have no idea if anyone will care or listen, care, or understand it.
Can I speak? I didn't get a chance.
Please, Karen. I'm sorry. Please,
I didn't get a chance to talk about my own experience with learning how to navigate through the system, right? Learning how to navigate, you know, Oftentimes I've not been as fortunate to work in some of the places that you guys I've been working long and hard, you know, and I've sacrificed a lot to do this business, to make my art. And, you know, carrying the bags, the weight of as being a woman, being a Black woman, being a full figure Black woman in this industry, which everyone might think, oh, it makes sense, but it's somewhere along the line things shifted. You know, the bar got shifted in different ways. You know, sometimes, you know, you carry that weight into a rehearsal space. You carry that weight on the stage. I mean, the weight of all of the bags that you have to carry. You know, and I think that the lack of compassion and understanding is a lack of humanity, a lack of understanding that the same stuff that you're dealing with, the director, the conductor, oftentimes, you know, the people that you're working with, you know, that we're dealing with the same things you're dealing with on top of the other bags. And it is a heavy weight, it's a heavy load. And I ask for empathy, I ask for understanding, you know, and humanity. Like moving forward, that's gonna be my demand and my expectation. And I will not allow anything less than that. I will not, you know, accept anything less than what I worked for and I deserve. For me, allyship means that people understand that I'm not asking for your seat. I'm asking you to move over so I can sit in mine. And you be okay with that. And you be okay with that. I don't want your seat. I don't want your job. I want what I work for. And I want you to be comfortable with that because I'm here to do it together. I'm not here to, you know, out-sing somebody, outdo somebody, outshine. That's going to happen naturally if it is what it is. You know, we can really talk. Let's talk. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to do anything, but if you allow me that space, I'm going to do what I do because that's what you paid me to do, be it on the stage or in the leadership position. So that needs to be the understanding, in my opinion, and I will not accept anything less than that.
Wow.
I want to add one more thing before we move on to the conversation. Morris, I don't know if you remember this, and probably for, you know, I'll just tell the story and you let me know. We were doing Trovatore in a summer place, and we were at a board party or at a party of leadership people and people on the board.
Uh-oh.
We were on one side of a river, and then there was another side of a river. And a white man, I'm sure he was well-meaning, he was a sweet guy, but he walked up and put his arms around me, you know, over my shoulder. I think he had his other arm on Morris's shoulder. And he said, "You see that bridge right there? My daddy built that bridge." And I was like, okay. And I knew where the story was going. Then there was the older bridge that they hadn't torn down. And he said, "You see that bridge right there? You boys wouldn't be able to cross that bridge."
Sure did. I was right there.
You boys wouldn't be able to cross that bridge. And
Boys.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And Morris, knowing me, I looked at Morris and he said, "Man, let's go." because where I'm from, that would have gotten a very visceral reaction from me. You can't say things like that to people and think it's okay.
But we still got to sing for them too. That's the crazy part.
Yes, and I still have to do it because I still have to come and I still have to do my job because I still want to get that check because I got mouths to feed, mortgages to pay. I have responsibilities. Again, Russell Thomas likes to pop off, but I can't because I know that will interfere with what I have to do, with my responsibilities. But here's where we go. Here's where the allyship comes in. If you want to be an ally, I don't want you to be my ally. I want you to do what's right. The right thing is to tell that white man, "You can't speak to my artist that way. Thank you for your donation of however much it was. Thank you for sponsoring whoever you sponsored. But if we have to take that sponsorship and deal with that, keep your money." I don't think anybody's brave enough to do it. I don't think they're brave enough to do it. But that's what allyship is. And for the singers that say, "What can I do?" Well, first thing you can do, if you want to really do something serious, this is serious. Let's not talk about blackface or anything else. If you want to do something serious, any company whose leadership or staff does not look like the community that their building sits in, refuse to sing there.
Preach.
Refuse to sing there. You want to do something? Do that. Refuse to sing there.
Preach.
Yes, they're putting Black bodies on stage, and I'm sure all of us are appreciative of that. But if you really want to make a difference, if you really want to do something, and I don't, again, it's a hard ask. I don't want to make anybody do anything that they don't want to do. But if you're asking me what you should do, this is what you should do. Go look at these companies that have one Asian man, maybe one Black woman working there, and their staff of 30 people, maybe. But look, you see the people who cleaning up the janitorial staff? They all Black. They all Black. But what about those other people in those arts positions, those leadership positions, these companies? What about the people who are asking and raising money? What about those people? These are this is action. If you want to do something actionable, instead of asking, should this person wear blackface or not, say, I refuse to work at a company that does not hire Black people. That does not make a concerted effort to get Black board members. Because the money's there. The money's there. The spirit of giving is there. But who's asking them for the money is very important. Because if somebody that doesn't look like me comes and asks me, and then I go see a show and then nobody on that stage that looks like me, then am I going to give you my $10,000, $20,000, $100,000?
Yes.
Okay.
And representation is super important, right? Like it is. But what are we representing exactly? What is being represented? You know?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what Russell said hits the nail on the head. And I'm the reputation for the guy that's articulate, knows how to say the right thing, and blah, blah. So I've edited about 400 statements from companies and individuals trying to make sure we say the right thing. But if you had Tamika Johnson on staff, you might not have to ask me, right? I've said this before, I've never, because I never worked at Michigan Opera Theater, and I've been blessed to work at every A house in America. I've never been hired by a Black person. I've never been directed by a Black person. I've never had a Black CEO of the company. I never had a Black president of the board. I never had a Black conductor. I never had a Black director. I haven't even had Black stage managers.
Wow.
None, not ever, for 20 years. So we have companies now trying to address an issue that don't have the personnel that make decisions that are in my best interest. Yeah. My interests aren't their interests at all. No one thinks about the things that they don't think about. So it doesn't affect us. You know, we're just lucky that we get our number called. And we are lucky, we are blessed, because for a myriad of reasons. First of all, everybody on here is immensely talented, or else we wouldn't be getting the jobs in the first place. So that kind of goes back to the regular world. You got to be better than great just to be average. So that's that part. But you know, it doesn't just reflect that also. What you're saying, and Julia, what you're saying is representation on the staff will help feed representation on the stage. Well, representation on the stage will also help feed the audience.
Yeah,
exactly. And that really is it's tying into my next question. Julia, did you want to say?
Circle.
I was going to say, I'm a little bit tickled by the frantic. I'm sure the offices at opera companies were going crazy trying to figure out arts organizations. What in the hell are we going to do when there's not even one Black body? And I'm a little bit tickled by that.
They all call it ours.
Right. I'm like, now,
who do we turn to?
They're like, they don't even have Tamika. You know what I mean? Like,
but like, talk about representation. It's like there is a scramble right now also to have platforms like this to put a lot of Black faces up on screens, because even when COVID hit, people were worried about how are we going to get content, how are we going to stay relevant, how do we let people know that we're in the space, we're sharing in the moment.
Yeah.
Representation, it's like Black people have been representing themselves on stage for a long time.
Yeah.
We have not necessarily been represented the way that we want to, or been represented the way, anyway, I'm this, like, what are we, I have to ask us also, it's like, what are we even doing here? Like, a reason why I'm here, as you said, J'Nai, it's like, because I wanted to see you all today.
Right.
It is so hard being apart from you all right now. It is so weird and hard. But that is why I'm here. I'm here to like listen and be a part and laugh and cry. But I am not actually here for a platform of promoting anything right now, or being positioned to do any one more thing right now.
I feel you. Absolutely.
The thing of representation, we've had that conversation. We've had it.
We have, and we need action.
And when does that representation of this ask, this is going to be a hard one, stop being representation and starts becoming tokenism?
Mm.
When does that line come? You know what I mean?
We ain't even got tokenism yet, though. So I mean, shit, we got a long.
I mean, listen,
we even got that yet, bro. You know?
We have to think about these asks, how we deal in these asks. Like Julia said, are we here promoting LA Opera? I love people at LA Opera. They've been great to me. They've been great to me. I'm gonna say
that's not what I'm doing.
They've been great to me.
I love them though.
But what are we doing here?
Right.
Here because J'Nai invited me.
There you go. Amen. My sister friend.
Thank you for asking the question.
My sister friend asked me to do something, and I'm being me, Russell Thomas, being the guy that I am. I'm here to support her.
Yes.
You understand what I mean? Not to say, again, like I said, LA Opera has been good to me. Josh and Christopher have been good to me. That chorus, that orchestra, Jim has been good to me.
Mm-hmm.
But in this moment right now, I'm worried about how I'm going to feed my family. I'm worried about, can I go outside and not get sick? I'm worried about, can I go outside and not get killed? You know what I mean? These are the things that we as Black people have to always have in the forefront of our minds. And we have to think, am I doing this, and is it being done for the right reasons? And is it being representative, or are we just here shooting the shit?
Right. And I hesitated doing this because of that exact idea. You know, we're putting our necks on the line, potentially, you know, and I don't want to be responsible for that, you know, with you all. You're my friends. I love you. I wanted to do this though, because I'm tired of having these conversations with you guys. I'm tired of having them at all. But if we're going to have them, why not here? So everybody can just hear us, see us, do what you want with this information. I hope and pray that it moves you as much as that video did of that cop murdering that man. But that's why I gathered us here today.
You know, and J'Nai,
not to teach, but to be with my family and stop talking about this so privately. I can't do it anymore.
It's almost a shame that we have to, even in this type of environment, we don't know who's listening and watching. And that's always in the back of our mind.
Yeah.
Because it, you know, for us, at least in my mentality, and I believe this to be 100% true, all it takes is one mistake to say one wrong word. And all of a sudden, Russell's an angry Black man. I don't feel comfortable with him being in this environment. You know, I used to like Morris, but he's a little too radical now with this whole Black thing. Maybe we can hire another guy that's safer. I'm like on the edge of that all the time, because I came into this business saying, I'm not going to alter who I am. I've been, for 30 years, I was myself. So why am I going to try to act and be something else? I can't act on stage, act at work, act in settings. You know, it's always something. So we're always this close, and we're carrying that weight as well. Like, we have vested interests, we have careers to protect. You know, we got families to feed, mouths to feed. And so one wrong word taken by anybody the wrong way, and now my career is over. I don't know if everyone has to live with that type of thing, but I know we certainly do. So
we certainly do, and it's wrong. It's not natural, and it's not our job to fix, you know, and going back to, I will kind of answer for me, the question of what solidarity looks like. It's, and this might trigger some people, but I think that you need to educate yourselves and look up what privilege actually means, what white privilege means. Because I feel like when people hear terms like racism, white privilege, what else is something that, sorry. Entitlement, they just get offended, but actually look up the terms and see if you fall under that in any way, you know? It's not, don't take it personally. Literally just, I feel like people can use this time, especially that we're all locked in, to heal yourselves. You know, I personally don't want to go to the theater and hear somebody sing and watch a production if you haven't done that work, you know, because it shows. It really does show.
It does. It resonates loud, loud, loud.
Yeah, it does. And as much as you think that you're hiding behind, you know, this big, beautiful set or costumes and stuff, you hear it, you see it. So that's what I ask, you know.
And in no way can any of us do that, go in without doing the work.
Right. And I also want to say, this might be a trigger word, but white supremacy. I'm not talking about the Ku Klux Klan. And I think a lot of people automatically correlate white supremacy with the KKK. Yes, they are obviously white supremacists, but white supremacy comes in so many forms. It's overt, it's subtle, it's everywhere. And it's not enough to say that you're not racist and that you have Black friends or a Black uncle or a Black family member. You have to be anti-racist. And it's hard work. You know, it's hard work, it's uncomfortable, but it's okay to be comfortable. And you need to be uncomfortable, because we could potentially be uncomfortable. Actually, I will say I am uncomfortable in some way every day of my life. And that's not to say that I'm giving power to the system, but to have to act in an opera, essentially, in real life, to have to be an actress, that's not comfortable. So it's time for people to be uncomfortable that don't just look like us, you know.
It's all too easy for them to stay in their comfortable place, though. That's the thing. When we talk about doing the work, they have to be energized to do something. They have to say, I want to work on me. But the beginning, just like Alcoholics Anonymous or other things, you have to state and realize that you have a problem. And if you're not actively doing something, you're like, oh, I'm not actively, you know, projecting these things on Black people, so I'm not racist. But you're absolutely right, J'Nai. Racism is clutching your purse a little bit tighter in, you know, when you're walking past a person of color, having not met them. You know, I said something before that I remember walking down the street and I had worked really hard and I had bought a Rolex watch, right? I was walking down the street and I walked past a person that seemed to clutch up, you know, on their watch and their things. And I was like, my watch costs more, in my mind, costs more than everything you have on, but you're more afraid of me. You don't know that I've been fortunate to have seen almost 50 countries and, you know, I've been blessed to do all the things I've done. You've reduced everything that I've accomplished in my life to being someone that can inflict harm upon you, where the truth of the matter is you're more of a threat to me than I am to you by looking at, you know, what your shoes look like. I'm not just hating on what your shoes are, but it's just like And so this is the thing that we find hard to deal with, because everything that we've accomplished is amazing. We could go and have a huge success at the Metropolitan Opera or Covent Garden or La Scala or whatever it is. We could have that. And that could all be ruined by someone walking down the street, walking past you, looking or talking to you like you don't belong. And the power in how they can reduce you to nothingness is really hurtful.
Listen,
you can have the accolades and then you're nothing. They rob you of things like that. And that's the things that hurt really deeply.
Yeah.
Or you can have just sung on the stage. If someone could have just come to your performance and you walk out that stage door and you walk to wherever, the car, the curb, and be disrespected by the same person that was standing up applauding you.
Oh, now that's a crazy one.
Y'all heard my stories.
We're talking about.
Y'all heard my stories.
What do you do with that?
First off, Larry, if you mention your Rolex watch again, I'm gonna slap you. I can't afford one, so that's only tenor talk. What's that tenor talk?
It's called tenor fees.
So yeah, okay. If
what
I
about
weren't on a public forum, I have a lot to say to you right now. I'll say this because I've said it before. I was at the Metropolitan Opera. I was a young artist. I had just sung the same broadcast that they just put on last week. I had just sung the final dress rehearsal for Salome. And I was standing in the lobby of the final dress rehearsal with my colleagues with my backpack on. I think I had my baseball cap on backwards. And we chilling, talking about the show. And this little old white lady walked up to me and said, sir. I said, yes, ma'am. I'm thinking she's going to tell me how great I sounded the first Nazarene because I smashed. But she was like, I just wanted to let you know that the light is out on the third floor bathroom, in the women's bathroom. And I was with my colleagues and they all were like, what the F? And I was like, yes, ma'am, I'll look into it. Thank you very much. Or when I was at Atlanta Symphony Orchestra, and I ain't got no Rolex, but I do have a black Cadillac Escalade. It was valet park. After the show, I just got through singing Madam Butterfly with Russell. And I'm standing at, it's very stereotypical. I'm standing at the valet spot waiting on my car to come up. And this other white lady walks up to me and says, sir, excuse me, where'd you park the bus? The bus? I had just gotten off stage. So, you know, it's a mentality that is ingrained in our society that we are only capable of being certain things. And they see that your approach, no matter if you just got through singing in Italian or German on stage, and they pay $300 to see you and they clap for you. When you walk off that stage, they see you, they think that you're the help. So it's a horrible feeling, you know. It really is.
It is. I could tell a story, but I'm just going to move on to the next thing because it's just all exhausting, you know. But you know, so many companies are lifting their voices and platforms in solidarity and solidarity. It's hopeful. It's a start. However, what are ways that you would like to see companies really hold themselves accountable to Black people? Yes, go ahead, Russell.
I was going to say, fix the problem that Morris has, that he's never been conducted by a black person. He's never been hired by a Black administrator. He's never had a Black stage manager on the stage. Fix that problem. Then that's how you can show your solidarity. Again, I mean, I addressed this already, but that's the only way to me that anything meaningful is going to happen. And I'm not saying that we have to, again, have an affirmative action approach when it comes to casting, hiring, or anything else. What I'm saying is, we've all had colleagues that decided one day to stop singing for one reason or another. And the next day, or the next week, or the next month, they have a job in administration. We've all seen this, some Black colleagues who've decided this career is not moving fast enough. I'm not really doing it. They apply and apply and apply. They have master's degrees, doctorate degrees. They apply for these jobs. They know the repertoire. They know the languages. They know all the stuff that could be beneficial to an opera company or symphony orchestra. They can't get an interview. Do we not see the problem here? Do we not see the problem? But all of the opera companies will say, we're very diverse. We have, you know, a gay man and an Asian man and a, you know, this. We have people of color. People of color. I don't want to hear that. I'm sorry, it doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. I think that, you know, if you really want to show solidarity, put your money where your mouth is. Stop blocking people. And you might even be doing it in a conscious way. I'll say it. I don't think many, hold on, I'm going to give them an out, and y'all know me, I don't give outs. I'm going to give it an out. You may not be doing it on purpose. You may not be doing it on purpose, but I assure you, you are doing it. You are doing it. One of our good, I know some of us have a really good friend, Afton Battle, genius mind, knows how to raise money, knows how to write grants, does all of it. She's applied to every opera company in America, in all of the big cities, and has not been given an interview in most of them, or have not been hired. And these are positions that have high turnover rates. Look on Opera America jobs, you'll see every couple of years they're looking for, major gifts officer, this person, people who need to raise money, people who need to do work that this woman is uniquely qualified for. She doesn't get hired. She doesn't even get an interview.
That's crazy.
And this it will be the fix. That's all.
Look at music staff. Music staff at every opera company in the country, other than Howard Watkins. We have one Black CEO in Michigan. We have no Black artist administrators that hires the talent. We have no Black marketing agents, except for Dallas Opera, I think, maybe. If you want diversity, if you really want to embrace diversity, it starts really at the top. It doesn't start at the bottom, it starts at the top. And I saw something today, the CEO of Reddit, I don't know much about them, but I think they're like a thing. He stepped down, gave $1 million to Colin Kaepernick's charity fund, and said, I want you guys to replace me with an African-American candidate, because we're going to start here. We're going to work our way down to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to address the issues in a responsible way. Now, I don't know if we take that drastic measure in the opera companies, but we certainly, as Russell said, we need to look at the administration. We need to look at the board, because if you're not diverse in your offices, how do you expect to really represent diversity on stage and in the audiences? You're not going to do that.
There's money to do that, like Julia said. There's money to do that. There's money to actively recruit. Yes. Also, oftentimes I get calls from my friends who are administrators. We're looking for a Black woman, to take this position. We're specifically holding this position for a woman of color. And I'm like, go find a recruiter who's finding everyone else, and actively seek in other arts communities, because in dance and theater, there is diversity in those other arts communities, and people who would color our industry, our art form so beautifully, who may not have even thought, well, opera, really? And what the rich, artistic value that they have, that we can just flourish in our community. We just don't do that. We don't actively go into communities of color, but we don't actively go into other art forms. Listen, opera is the one thing that incorporates all the art forms. Orchestral, vocal, dance, theater, costume design, all of those things. Why aren't we pulling out the table and inviting people to eat, to see what they can bring into our community? I don't think that's done enough, and it's definitely damn sure not done in Black arts communities.
At the bare minimum, stop doing Porgy and Bess with a white director, a white conductor. At the bare minimum. The bare minimum. Stop allowing white people to tell Black people about the Black experience. At the bare minimum. I'm sorry, that to me is outrageous. Don't let me come on a stage and you tell me about how I should feel to be Black and how Black people move. Really?
I had the same conversation I was doing Showboat at one of the many companies I've done that, and I won't name the company because they know the person. But I had a white lady from Iowa who was an English diction coach on Showboat. And after the first rehearsal, she walked over to me with a score and was trying to tell me that you don't sound like what we're reading here in the score. And I'm like, do you know I'm from Georgia? So I get it. That was a funny epithet to throw in there, but you're right, Russell. These things have to be addressed from the top down, and we have to make some common sense decisions. Now, one of the problems that we're going to have here, and I'm a business guy also, is that a lot of decisions that are being made in opera companies are business decisions before they're artistic decisions, right? And there are lots of mouths and hands that you have to keep happy. And the people that write the checks have a lot of weight in this business. A lot of times they determine a lot of things. So I think we're up against that part of the establishment too. We're up against people that write checks having a very strong influence over the company. And I don't know how to ward that off, but I think that if I'm running a company and you put it in my hands to run the company, let me do this part. We appreciate your donations, but trust me to run the business. And then the administration can make the right decision. So I think that's one of the drawbacks, or at least that's a cop out. I don't know what it is, but I hope we take that in consideration and figure out how to get around that part of it as well.
I think companies are trying to be deliberate, and that's the word. You have to be deliberate in trying to make those changes. You have to say, I'm going to do this because it needs to be done. Forget affirmative action. We need to have Black people in this, in administration. We need to have Black people in all this and do it on purpose. I remember talking to a journal director, and this really impressed me. I was doing a show, and I won't mention the place. I was doing a show, and the cast was very diverse. Well, I guess I can't mention it. It was Houston Grand Opera. The conductor was a Black man, Roger Cox, a fantastic young conductor. The chorus, everything was so beautifully diverse. And so I remember that this general director told me, someone made a statement to him saying, you know, wow, is that what we're doing? Are we doing the diversity thing now? And he said, what do you mean? She said, I see that it's pretty diverse on stage, as if she had a problem with it. He said, the people that are on stage should be on stage, and that's why they are. You can call it whatever you want to, but I think it's just the right people doing the jobs they were meant to do. So you have to be deliberate. And if you have to have the intestinal fortitude to say to some of these deep pockets who keep your seasons afloat, they have to trust you, because they all appreciate the artistic experience. But you have to say to them, thank you for your contribution, but this is my lane that I stay in, you know? And let them know that your endeavors are what you want them to be. I want to have a very diverse, you know, equally acceptive of all genders and races and everything like that. That's what we're doing artistically. You're part of something else. So either you can remain in your lane, or we're still going to go on with our mission. And so I was happy that he did that, and I was a part of that experience. So it was beautiful to see that. And I hope more people will be intentional and deliberate in putting people in places and really making sure that their mission goes forward.
Mm-hmm. I also, sorry, I just wanted to bring up the education piece of, like, when we're talking about reaching out to the Black community and putting the resources where your mouth is. I do not know the ins and outs of all of the education programs at these arts organizations, but I do feel there can be more. There must be more that is done. And honestly, like, even just presented to the artists that come in. I know, like, for myself, I mean, when I come in for a production, my mind is in many, many places. The minute that somebody says to me, like, hey, do you have time to go to a school? Or would you like to give some free lessons or whatever? Like, master classes, like, yes. Because it's not just about, like, dropping off a group of artists into schools and giving them, like, and here's a show, here's a mini show of the bigger grand opera show. Please come join us. Like, that is not enough. It is how, I mean, I don't know everybody's story, but how I got involved in the arts and in classical music in particular is because somebody took interest and time with me to hear my voice and I mean, I invest. There was just, like, and spark my imagination, but it's this one-on-one, really committed, focused time that I know it's so enriching for us. We are so desperate to get out into these communities. But also, when we're traveling across the world, we don't know half the time the neighborhoods that we're entering into. So we need help as well. And to be presented, like, with ideas right away of here's many options of where your energy can go while you're here, if this is something for you. And also, just I'm no longer interested in hearing the word, like, community outreach anymore. Honestly, it's like, either you are engaged in your community or you are not.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And words are really important. The language of it is really important.
I oftentimes talk about development directors being just as knowledgeable as an artistic administrator is when they're casting. And I think that is another key to community building, community development, is having someone that understands and can navigate in and out the ins and outs of that.
Of course, because there's money in the African American community. There's money in the Black community. There are CEOs and business people that also want to get those tax breaks. But and you can tell them you don't have to give your money to this mega church. Give it to help bring it to LA Opera. But it's all like, who's making the ask? Who's making the ask? Who's asking me for my money? And when you invite me to the show, who am I seeing on stage? And when I come into the room in these board meetings, or not board meetings, excuse me, but these donor events, am I going to be treated like I don't belong there? These are things that they go through. These are things that happen regularly. And I think it is important, and this is my last statement about this, for the opera companies and the administrations to teach their board members and their donors how to interact with people who don't look like them. That's their responsibility.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Well,
We done?
I think that's an excellent way to close this thing out. And for me, it's about being responsible. You all touched on that so beautifully. Thank you for giving your time, not only your time, but your energy, Once again, you're giving your energy. So I just hope that this doesn't fall on deaf ears and that, we see action.
Do people have questions? We're not doing questions?
Oh, do you want to do, I think.
I don't know.
But it's not really, we don't have to do questions. Let me see.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
I will just say this before we go also.
To do questions.
J'Nai,
Yes.
I have to commend you on how you hosted this. I've been involved with quite a few of these things, but this one was the realest, the most informative. It was organized. It was very well attended. We have over 1,000 viewers, and everybody got a chance to speak their piece. And I think it was very informative, and I think that it was the most effective of all the ones I've been in. So congratulations to you and LA Opera, and for everyone else on the panel. You brought some wonderful knowledge and wisdom to the table, and I'm appreciative of that because I don't think it will fall on deaf ears. I hope not.
Thank you so much. I mean, again, like I said, I was very nervous. This is really the first time I've done anything like this, especially on this magnitude. So thank you for your support. I feel that from you guys, and I'm very thankful to LA Opera for providing this platform, your platform. Does anyone else have anything else to say?
I love you all.
Russell has something to say.
No. I was just saying bye, and I love you all. I love you all.
Okay, I really do. Yes.
I love you all too. Keep on keeping on.
My fam. Thank you. Thank you for having me, J'Nai.
Of course.
So much.
Thank you, LA Opera.
Thank you, Christopher and Josh.
Yes.
Yes.